You know who it is, and you know what time it is. Time to piss off some feminists, trad cucks, and whoever don't want to know the truth. Oh well, let's get started. What is going on, gents? It's R.P.M. here, reporting for Mobile Command. Gentlemen, you can look out in society and see the state of the modern relationship, and in particular, the modern marriage. Yeah, it is not only in free fall, but it has reached terminal velocity. And there is no riding this airplane, gentlemen. There's no pulling out of this nosedive. The relationship market is going to have to crash and burn. It just is what it is. However, let's take a dive into something that tends to be the common deflection, or should I say excuse. Blaming men. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to talk about when me and the meat sack were going through our biggest trials and when I was going through therapy, which I would highly, highly recommend. If you're going through a rough patch with the woman that you're with, go to therapy. Now, my particular therapist, ironically, an older, divorced woman. She told me something during our sessions. And when she told me this phrase, it literally took all the weight off my shoulders and it really cleared my head. Are you ready, gentlemen? Here it is. Her decisions and her actions are never your fault. I'm going to say this one more time. The woman that you are with, girlfriend, wife, her decisions and her actions are never your fault. Yeah, it's true, gentlemen. It is true. Now you look at how society wants to continuously put the blame on men. Now I'm going to connect a few dots and essentially talk about why a lot of men go back to the plantation, especially after a divorce. Now let's look at the psyche of us men. We're very simple, straightforward creatures. We operate within certain parameters. Logic, morality, honor, competition, of course. Now those things are used to put us in that box. But whenever it comes to the failure of a relationship, those same characteristics are used as a weapon. How so? Simple. Guilt. Yeah. See, whenever a man's relationship, ends by the woman leaving or cheating, the easiest thing that women, society, and blue pill men will do is they will place the blame on the man. They will put the blame on his shoulders. Why? Because he has to feel guilty in some way, shape, or form. Now, something else that women have in their playbook, I would call this the chapter of excuses. Yeah. In particular, when a man finds out that his woman is being unfaithful, when she's cheating, you find out she's going to go into that chapter of excuses and try to find one. And this is when the goalpost shifting will begin. So let's use two prime examples. Example number one, you're not working enough. Basically, you're not providing her the lifestyle that she believes she deserves. So what happens? She monkey branches to what she sees is a higher earning man. She cheats. She pulls out the excuse, well, you wasn't making enough money. You weren't providing enough for me to be satisfied. So guess what? The man feels guilty because that right there was an insecurity of his. And I'm going to talk about that briefly. Yes, whenever they pull excuses out of the excuse chapter of the female playbook, that excuse is meant to target any specific insecurity of yours that you might agree with. Well, the guy would say, well, yeah, I was making enough money. Boom. You've agreed to that. That's what's going to be used as the reason for her to cheat on you. Now let's go to the opposite end. You're a guy who's working his tail off. You're not home as much. What happens? Oh, you weren't here for me. I was lonely. So I decided to step out and cheat on you. What's the excuse? Like I said, you weren't there. So the fact that you were actually working too much was the excuse. Once again, you're providing for this woman. She says you're not giving her what she desires, which is your time and attention. So she decided to seek it out elsewhere. Once again, society, women, blue pill men will tell you that's your fault to make you feel guilty. Now, for all my movie buffs out there, if you watch the film The Devil's Advocate, what did Al Pacino say to Keanu Reeves about guilt? Guilt is like a bag of bricks. Gentlemen, it's time to put that bag down. You should never feel guilty. Because there's a question that a lot of men, myself included, tend to ask when relationships go sour. And this is a question that men must never ask themselves, because when you do, you give her the ultimate power, because you cast self-doubt. Now, what is that question, gentlemen? What could I have done different? Oh yeah, my therapist broke all of this down. What could I have done different? Well, gentlemen, the answer to that question is nothing. There is nothing that you could have done or said to make that woman change her mind, especially once she's already made it up to do whatever she was going to do, i.e. cheat or leave. She had already made that decision long ago. She was just trying to find the perfect excuse that would stick for her to act on that decision. Oh yeah, gentlemen. Oh yeah. Yeah. Now, let's take a look at the perfect example of this. Luther Campbell, Uncle Luke for all of us 90s kids who grew up with the 2 Live crew. And the fact that his wife just one day decided, you know what? I don't want to be with you anymore. Now, he put it out to the public that there was nothing wrong with their marriage. There was no infidelity. There was no, physical or mental violence, no abuse, nothing. She just made a decision. Boom. There you go. So what would you tell, Mr. Campbell in this situation? How could society spin it and say that it's his fault? You can't. You shouldn't. So here's what I would recommend, gentlemen. When the woman that you're with decides that she's ready to leave, let her go. Let her go. If you find out that she's being unfaithful, no need to get all emotional. No need to blow up the spot, anything. Hey, you know what? I found out that you've been cheating on me. I forgive you. Goodbye. That's it. That is the whole of the conversation. For you married men out there, it's a real hard deal because every marriage in of itself is unique. There's always going to be certain factors. Take my marriage and another man's marriage. I have things in place that allow me to be where I am. Another guy's not going to have those things. So, my broad brush advice for married men, when you find these things out, prepare. Prepare. You have to go into marriage, which a lot of men in the past never did, with what Terrence Popp coined the pre-divorce mentality. Yeah. Now that's something that Luther Campbell said. He put out that he didn't believe in divorce. He wanted to go pretty much till death do we part. But as we all know, that is not the setting for the normal woman, or the modern woman. Her mentality is, I'm going to wait you out, let you get fattened up like a nice Thanksgiving turkey. And when it's time, I'm going to go ahead and take you, cut your head off, stuff you, put you in that oven, and I'm going to continue to eat off of you long after Thanksgiving is over, i.e. the marriage. Yeah. But gentlemen, understand this. You cannot control the woman in your life, nor should you want to. You shouldn't. See, that's another part of the scarcity mindset that's been conditioned into us men. From a young age, we don't get the same levels of attention that girls do. So we kind of grow up with, a lot of us, to be perfectly honest, we have mommy issues. So anytime a woman shows us a little bit of attention, we want to grasp it. We want to hold on to it. And that's why a lot of men stay in relationships that they know that they shouldn't be in. A lot of men are not built for relationships, but we want to try to force ourselves into that box because that is societally accepted. Then when things go south, the woman decides that she's ready to leave. She decides that your turn is now over. What happens? The convenient chapter of excuses to make you feel guilty as the man. That way, instead of healing like you truly should, you have more men blue pill men come in and say, well, the best way to get over your woman is to get another woman. No. No. Nope. Take the time to properly heal. If you're going to go back onto the relationship market, if you're going to go back onto the sexual market, you should go with a clear head. And also, something else that tends to be a bit of an argument that a lot of guys will say is, improve your life. That way, if she comes back, she's going to see what she lost. I would have to say, no, don't do that. Why? Because if that is your motivation to improve yourself, to try to quote unquote make her jealous, then guess what? You're allowing her to continue to live rent-free in your head. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is chill, relax, take the appropriate time you need to put yourself on the right path. You cannot build a new relationship with a bad foundation. You can't. It's like something else that she told me. Why would you try to rebuild a burned house? Why? So, gentlemen, that's a big reason why a lot of women tend to have even higher failure rates when it comes to new relationships than men. Why? Because they don't take the appropriate time to actually get to the root of their issues. But we're not going to worry about that. As long as they have their support system, in air quotes, i.e. a bunch of simps and people telling them what they want to hear, they will never actually take responsibility for their own actions. Which is a big reason why we men tend to feel guilty and are more so willing to take blame when we should not. We shouldn't. We have to stop that. So, gentlemen, if you are going through an issue, or you know of a man that's going through an issue with the woman that he's with, please share this video with him. Because that question of what could I have done different, that question is definitely a self-doubt question. There's nothing that you could have said or done to change her decision. Nothing. Simply letting go. But yeah, before I close this out, I briefly touched on why self-improvement for her is actually a bad thing. Because that means you're not really ready to move on if you're still thinking about how she's going to see you later on down the line. Let it go. Cut the cords, especially if you do not have children with this woman. Oh, all bets are off. Block, ignore, ghost. Do what you need to do. Because that woman is proven that she is in fact toxic. So you do not need that in your life. But with that being said, gentlemen, really think about this. Really dive into it from your own perspective. But all in all, gentlemen, I'm going to repeat this. And when you guys go through any sort of relationship breakup, I want you guys to look in the mirror and say this. Her decisions and her actions were never my fault. She made those decisions. She made those actions. Therefore, the only thing that I can do, no, scratch that. The only thing I should do is let her go. That's it. That is the only action that you need to take. With that being said, the power is still metaphorically out, ladies. Feminism is still against the ropes, receiving a whole bunch of body blows and a few liver shots. But the constant need to blame men for failures of relationships and the need for men to feel guilty and spiral back into going back to the plantation to feel like we need to quote unquote win in the relationship realm, believe me, that is definitely going out right along with it as more men are waking up, realizing, no, it's not my fault. She made her decision. That way she can go ahead and exit stage left. And I don't need to feel guilty about it. And as a matter of fact, I no longer need to accept responsibility for another adult. That's all I got to say for this one. R.P.M. I am